what I thought was interesting was we were all on the lookout for who gets what reps. And that was pretty cut and dry. Lance gets the 1s, Darnold 2, Brandon Allen 3. But then there's interviews afterward. And now we're reading into like, well, Brock came out first, and then Darnold came out second, and Trey came out third. And should we read into the order in which they spoke? So let's talk about this quarterback hierarchy. How do you read it, Jesse?
Well, can we give a shout out to the 49ers, by the way? They did such a good job with this because let's be honest for a second. If we were taking bets prior to the press conference, Grant, of would any quarterback speak, most of us would have been like, nah, it's going to be like Fred Warner or CMC or, whoever, right? We would not have thought at all that one quarterback was going to speak. At least I didn't. And I think
I didn't think any quarterbacks were going to speak. I think the whispers around the media room was like, it's probably going to be non-quarterbacks. They'll just dodge.
Yeah. And it was all three. They did all three. It's like, wow, they just way to just feed the content out there for
Thank you.
They knew what they were doing. So I thought that was funny. And I think a lot of people are reading into the order in which they spoke. And I actually took it a little bit differently. If you really break it down, they went in reverse order of what the hierarchy is right now. And Brock Purdy right now is not healthy. So obviously he would be number 3 out of those quarterbacks.
Correct.
Number 2 would be Sam Darnold, who took not the first team reps, and number 1 would be Trey, and that's who came out last.
Because you save your marquee act for the end. You don't just lead off with the marquee headlining act. Sorry.
Right. So that's the way I took it. But long term, it didn't mean a lot to me. One thing I do want to say, though, is Trey Lance, to me, you just had a maybe you've been around him more. And in the room, it might feel different than what it comes across on camera. He had a different vibe to me. He just felt like he was very comfortable. He had the joke with you at the end, was like, well, it's not like the 49ers told me to seek help because I'm sad or anything, and he kind of laughed it off and made a joke.
I didn't mean it like that, by the way.
No, I know you. I know. I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
But I just felt like he was very comfortable in his skin and in his position. Was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to get everything that I got. And whatever happens, happens. And I'm cool with the outcome. Like, I'm in a good spot mentally. I'm great. And that's the vibe that he portrayed to me. And so I don't know how this whole thing's going to shake out. If Purdy's healthy, I imagine he's the day one starter. But Trey, to me, felt different. He just felt like his energy was different than what it had been in the past. He wasn't trying.
Right. I suppose if Brock Purdy's back for training camp and he gets a long ramp up, then he would start week 1 based on what he did last year. But there's no guarantee of that happening. And until that happens, the competition is between Trey and Sam. And I could see why Trey would be confident. I mean, nothing against Sam Darnold. I mean, he has talent. Obviously, he was the number 3 pick in the draft. He's only 25, but he doesn't exude confidence. I'm sorry. Would anyone disagree with that? If anyone disagrees, raise their hand. He doesn't. So, I mean, it's got to make Trey feel a little bit more confident. Like, man, this guy's got his own issues to deal with.
Yeah, he's 25. He's been in the league for a while. And guess what? It's not easy to be a quarterback in the NFL. I'm not the only one that's struggling over here. And I think that, coupled with probably just feeling like he's in a better spot, actually working on his mechanics, hanging out with Patrick Mahomes. Now he's got the whole thing with Josh Allen coming up and gets to go back and work on his mechanics even more. He probably just feels really good. And also, I don't know if you had caught this, Grant, at all. I felt like, and maybe you knew this, but I felt like you had asked the question about the sports psychologist, like it was the first time we had heard it. He'd actually talked about it a year ago. I don't know if you remember, but he did talk about it. Then he was seeing a sports psychologist. And so this isn't anything new. It's not like
I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Purdy is. I mean, honestly, every single player on the team should have an independent sports psychologist that their agent sets them up with.
Can only help. I think so.
There's no stigma. There's nothing bad about it. Yeah, seriously. My wife's a therapist. I'm an advocate. I'm not trying to get her business.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
By the way, you can reach out to Grant's wife and she can be your therapist. Some of y'all in the chat need it. I don't care. Some of y'all in the chat need it, and it's okay.
Wouldn't it be funny if some of the players on the Niners went to my wife and they're like, this freaking guy, Grant, is constantly riding me? And she's like, I don't know about that guy.
She can't say anything to you or them about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, the way I look at it with this hierarchy is what's interesting is Trey Lance is working on his mechanics. I had a throwing expert, Austin Carter Samuels, on my show today, and he really explained like the process he's on. He's trying to stride less, use more of a rotational force instead of a linear, like what's the word?
I know what you're saying. I know exactly.
Weight transfer,
Yes, there you
less
go.
weight transfer, less stride, man. I hate when that happens on live television or whatever you want to call that. So he's in the process. He's doing better. What's interesting about Purdy is people aren't really that impressed. He's not like an artist with the ball in his hand, like, Aaron Rodgers. What's so impressive about him is his it factor. Like him and Trey both have this it factor, this confidence, this moxie, this leadership that young guys don't necessarily have. And while Sam seems to be the kind of guy that quarterback coaches like. They look at him throw, they're like, yeah, okay, all right, okay. But it just never, there's a disconnect with him, something, and you could call it decision-making or leadership or whatever, confidence. There is something seriously lacking with Sam, at least so far.
Yeah, I think that showed up. I was actually texting you during the press conference and telling we came away with the same exact thought. But we were talking about it, and basically, yeah, it's just, to me, he may exude confidence on the field with his teammates in a huddle. I don't know. But when I look at a franchise quarterback and they get in front of the media and use a lot of filler words and ums and uhs, and I just, that puts me off as a fan. It doesn't give me confidence that he's the guy. When I listen to Brock Purdy talk and Trey Lance talk, I'm like, oh yeah, these two are leaders. These are franchise guys. I can get behind this. Doesn't mean that Sam can't be that guy because of the way that he speaks to the media, but it is really hard to make that type of guy the face of your franchise.
And again, like, so what does that say? Like, he went third in the draft not because of his leadership or CEO mentality. It's like throwing coaches really like the way he throws the ball, which is wild to me because he's never been like a high completion percentage guy. Like, he can do things that are difficult, I guess, or things that, only the top 1% throwers in the world can do. But there's so much more to being a quarterback than that. Ask Zach Wilson. So we'll see. But that's the core. I think you're right, man. I think the quarterback hierarchy is, Brock, we're going to say a bunch of nice things, but as far as, he's not here. So he can go out first, but he's essentially on IR for now. And then Brock is next. And then we don't even show Brandon Allen. Sorry, Brandon. And then Trey.